Hi guys, Danny here from Danny's Scrappy Chicks, and I wanted to share with you today how I make my card books. I got asked today by a fellow consultant how I store birthday cards and cards from special events and things, and I've been making these for a number of years now. So they actually sit upright like a book, and this tie here is all where it attaches the cards in, so it acts as quite decorative in my bookshelf. And inside you can see I've got the cards, and so they're actually threaded through with that ribbon. Sometimes it's wool, it's a bit of everything really, whatever I've had going on. And I'm going to show you guys how to make these, because once upon a time in a previous crafting life for doing markets and things, this is one I've had left over. I used to make them and I used to sell them as packs, and I used to sell bags of ties to go in them as well. So to get you started, you need 6 pieces of chipboard or cardboard. If you have really thick, okay, this is reasonably thick, this is still a bit thicker, and I've got some thinner stuff, right? I've mixed thick and thin together. So I need 2 pieces for the spine. These are 22 by 7 centimeters is my measurement of choice, and I need 2 for each cover, and again 17 centimeters wide, 22 centimeters high. So cutting 4 of those. What you then do is you're going to actually stick these together. So in sets, I'm just going to do one lot for you. Now I've used our liquid glass to do this, so just a generous squirting on there, and just join those 2 together. This just makes your cover a bit more sturdy. It is only cardboard, so it will still buckle a little bit, but I've found it has been sturdy enough. So you're going to glue the spine together, both covers halves together. All right. The next bit you need is a piece of patterned paper that you want to put on the back. Now this can be 1 piece or 2, and the idea is your piece needs to be big enough to wrap around both covers and your spine. Now with leaving a little bit of a gap, I leave about 1/2 centimeter between cover, spine, cover, and then enough to wrap around. If you've ever done book covering with contact or anything like that, it's a very similar process. So I'm going to skip to one that I've started, and so I've already glued this side down and my spine into place. Now I'm going to glue this one. To do this, I've just used the Bonding Memories glue. Now, try not to get too many puddles. Different types of paper will wrinkle differently with this glue. I normally don't have a problem with my scrapbooking papers, but I'm using a wrapping paper today because this is for a friend and her wedding colours were silver and black, so I've just tried to match in with that. So using the Bonding Memories glue, so I've tried to take it out fairly well all the way to the edges. And I'm just eyeballing this. It's not a big deal. So this gap in between the spine and the 2 covers on either side is what is going to actually be our hinge when they open and close. Now, just like your book covering, okay, if you've never covered a book before, you need to chop out your corners so that you can fold them up. Alright, I'm doing this a bit wonky, trying not to get in the way of the camera. And I'm going to put my glue, again the Bonding Memories works really nicely for this, on it, and I'm going to fold this over. You'll notice I'm not worried about this gap in between again. We're just going to ignore that. Fold it over, smooth it out. Doesn't matter how attractive or straight your edges are, because we're actually going to line this with cardstock. In my case, I've chosen a cardstock, but you could choose more wrapping paper, anything you like really, but I like our cardstock and it suits me to use a plain colour, but you could certainly use another pattern. Oh, didn't cut that corner off very well, just fix that now. There we go. My Bonding Memories glue in. Perfect. So suddenly my book has taken shape really quickly. So there's my spine, got my covers. Okay, Now, the next thing I want to add into this is the tie that's going to be used to tie my book together. Now, you can do it with just 2 pieces of ribbon that you glue in here. You can put your ribbon along the inside, or you can actually put it around the outside, depending on the look you're after with your book. I tend to put mine on the inside, and I use liquid glass for this, so I'm going to put a good dollop where I want my tie to sit, and I'm taking my ribbon all the way along. I've chosen a nice thick ribbon, so using our liquid glass again, and I didn't actually check that I had that remotely centered, but I've done pretty well. I have dovetailed the ends of my ribbon just because that's a look that I like. All right, now I don't need to worry really about letting that dry. The next thing I'm going to do is cover my inside. Now, this is longer than a true 12 by 12 sheet of paper, so I've actually cut 2 pieces. So we said this was 22 high, so I've actually cut mine at 21 just to give me a little bit of a gap, top and bottom. And I've cut it so that it will cover into the middle, because if you're going to join anything together, the spine is the place to do it. The same if you're joining the backing paper, make your join in the spine. It'll get covered by the card and the string or the ribbons. So that's what I'm going to do there. Now, I am going to actually attach this again with the liquid glass. You could use the bonding memory screw, but I just want it to make sure it really does stick. So I'm just going to run some along in places, bit down that edge, and I'm going to, I've glued myself. Good thing it dries clear. I'm just going to run this in. So you can see it's covered all my nasty edges. And given that I'm using cardstock, you will never see the wrinkles or anything from the liquid glass. Now I do just need to run a little bit extra down here for where it's overlapping. Oops, make sure I put the gluey side down. And again, if you've mismeasured and you've got little gaps in here, it doesn't really matter in the slightest. Now I just need to neaten up my corner here. Now, one other tip that I use, because I'm using wrapping paper and it's not as thick, just make sure you push that down as you bend that up. Do some practice bends before your glue completely dries, just so that it's got a bit more flexibility. You can hold it into place, because if you don't have a practice bend before your liquid glass dries, it can become quite hard. All right. At this point, I would turn that over and I would stick something hard on it, heavy on it, just to keep holding that into place. But for ease of what we're doing today, I want to show you something. These spine points are the weakest point in your book. And just a little thing that I've learnt along the way so that you don't get any tears. Some good old packing tape. Nothing special about my tape at all, except that I've just messed that piece up by doubling it back on itself accidentally. But I want it long enough so that I can go over the back to protect the edge of my spine. And so I'm just going to sit that on that piece. You could use contact as well if you wish. It will have the same effect. And I'm just going to run that down into there. So you don't, the reason I choose packing tape is it's pretty thin and you don't see it. So again, I'm just going to fold that. The glitter does make it not stick quite as well as I would like, but it's enough that it just provides a bit of extra protection so that if any of my ribbons or my strings slip and get into that groove, they're not going to pull down and tear my cover off. So I would do that both sides. So then it's just a matter, if we go back to this one that I made earlier, it's just a matter of tying your ribbon around and threading your card through. And you can just keep going until you think it's full. The other thing I did add was just a little box on the inside, so use a PML card or something like that just to put the title in. Now, I obviously haven't written in this. Oops of me. This was my first daughter Sienna's naming day card, so I need to write a little message in there to say what they're about. And you can decorate your covers as much as you like as well. Thanks, guys. I hope that helped, and happy creating.